Vladimir Efremov, a famous Russian physicist, spent 8 minutes in the afterlife. When he returned, he made several sensational discoveries. "This is not the end," he whispered after coming back to life. "There's life there too, but it's different, much better." This amazing incident happened suddenly. Vladimir Grigorievich, a leading engineer at the Impulse Design Bureau, died from a coughing fit that caused him to collapse on the sofa. His family thought at first that he was just resting. However, Natalia, a doctor by profession, was the first to understand the seriousness of the situation. She tried to wake her brother up by gently touching his shoulder and asking how he was feeling. When she did not hear a response and did not find a pulse, Natalia immediately began resuscitation. For 8 minutes, she desperately fought for his life, until finally she felt a weak pulse. When the scientist began to breathe on his own, Natalia said with relief, "He is alive." In a whisper, Vladimir told his impressions from the other world. "No, this is not the end. There is life there too, but it is different, much better." After this incident, Efremov described in detail his stay in the afterlife, which became the first scientific study of this area. His findings were published and caused a sensation at the Scientific Congress, where he made a presentation. The head of the International Club of Scientists, Professor Anatoly Smirnov, noted that Vladimir Grigorievich's discoveries were so amazing that it was impossible to invent them. Efremov, a recognized expert in the field of artificial intelligence, has devoted many years to the development of space technologies, including the launch of Yuri Gagarin and the creation of advanced rocket systems. He was a laureate of state prizes. Before his clinical death, Vladimir Grigorievich was a staunch atheist who fully trusted scientific data and rejected ideas about life after death as religious inventions. However, his worldview has changed. On March 12th, while staying at the house of his sister Natalia Grigorievna, the scientist suddenly felt a severe coughing fit. His breathing became difficult, his lungs stopped obeying, and he could not take a breath. His body froze, his heart stopped, and a wheeze escaped with his last breath. At that moment, Vladimir thought that his life had come to an end, but his consciousness did not leave him. He felt an extraordinary lightness. The pain disappeared, and he felt as if he had returned to a serene childhood. Vladimir no longer felt his body and could not see it, but all the memories and feelings remained. It seemed that he was moving through a huge pipe. This feeling of flying was familiar to him from his dreams. After trying to slow down the movement and change its direction, he realized that he could control the process. Instead of fear, he felt peace. Starting to analyze what was happening, he came to the conclusion that the world he had entered was real. He visualized his surroundings in his mind, and everything he imagined became tangible. Efremov described his feelings in detail. The space around him was bright, saturated, and filled with energy. Consciousness functioned differently, encompassing everything at the same time, not limited by time or space. He watched in amazement as the world around him changed. Returning to life, Vladimir realized that thought has incredible power. He recalled visualizing an old broken TV from his apartment, seeing its device down to the smallest detail, and even learning personal information about the steelworkers who created its parts. After returning, he repaired the TV, replacing exactly the part that had failed. This case changed his approach to scientific work. Efremov solved the problem that his design bureau had been working on for 2 years in a matter of minutes by visualizing the design of a cruise missile. The solution turned out to be so obvious that it was immediately implemented with success. Gradually, the scientist began to realize that he was not alone in this world. "I noticed that the exchange of information with the environment has become two-way," he recalled. "At first, it seemed to me that the answers to my questions just continued my own thoughts. But I soon realized that the information I was receiving went beyond my earthly knowledge." The knowledge that came to him in this state turned out to be much more extensive than anything he had known before. Efremov realized that he was being controlled by a being devoid of all restrictions. It possessed unlimited power, was omnipotent and full of love. This invisible but sensed subject acted carefully so as not to cause fear. I began to realize that phenomena and problems were opening up to me in all their cause and effect relationship. Although my physical eyes couldn't see anything, My perception became surprisingly sharp and clear. I came to the conclusion that it was a manifestation of the divine presence. Suddenly, he felt an obstacle. It was as if he had been pulled out of this state like a carrot out of the ground. Despite the desire to stay in this world, where he felt great, everything around him began to flash. At the last moment, he saw his sister overcome with fear. The scientist himself was delighted at this moment. In his scientific research, Vladimir Efremov tried to explain the physical aspects of the afterlife. When asked how he could characterize the world he found himself in, he explained, "All objects in this space are closely interconnected, and their interaction takes place according to certain laws. A person is able to influence objects only with the power of thought." While in this state, Efremov was able to change the configuration of the pipe he was traveling through and modify the contours of the surrounding objects. I have come to the conclusion that perception in this dimension is completely subordinated to human desires. That is why the testimonies of people who have experienced clinical death are so different. For Vladimir Efremov, this experience turned out to be so full of joy that nothing earthly could compare with it. Even the feeling of first love seems insignificant compared to these feelings. However, not everything was so cloudless. During his journey, he encountered an obstacle that prevented him from moving forward. It was like pulling a plant out of the soil, he recalled. Everything began to spin around, and his sister appeared in front of him. Panic was visible on her pale face, while the scientist himself felt elation. Later, he shared with his loved ones, "Death is no longer scary for me. I know that this is just a door to another world." Dear friends, thank you for watching my video to the end. If you liked it, please like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's very important. Thank you, and have a nice day.